All right, good morning and welcome to God is Dead. Are you sure? Title of the show can be a little controversial. Can get us a little worked up. How are you doing this morning, Todd?
Outstanding. How are you?
That's good. You're doing outstanding. You got a nice picture of somewhere pretty behind you.
I do. That is Island of Maui.
That's nice. There's a marathon in Honolulu on December 8th.
Are you
It's
going?
it's the I want to say I could be wrong. It's either the second or the fourth largest marathon in the world.
Wow. Bigger than Boston, New York, and all those, huh? Or close to?
I maybe it's because they don't restrict the number of people. I
Oh
think
yeah,
Boston.
don't.
I think
Yeah.
Boston and those you have to qualify for, and they restrict.
Yeah.
Like it's those aren't the same.
Okay.
Those are the serious marathons. I'm
Well,
not saying
December is a
this isn't
great.
a serious. I'm not saying that this isn't a serious marathon,
Yeah. No,
but
December is a great time to go to Hawaii, especially for those in the northern markets, obviously.
oh, is
Going
that
to.
is that what you would coach your franchisees on?
Not if they're in the middle of a snowstorm.
That lesson was learned once, wasn't it?
It was. It was.
Well, that's good.
Especially in
That's
your
good.
first year of business.
Yeah, or ever.
Yeah, or ever.
If you're in the snow business, going to Hawaii in December is probably not a good idea. Um, let's see here. So we got a verse to talk about today on our God is Dead podcast show, and it's a good one. And this is one that always hits home. And
So,
it's unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the guards watch in vain. In vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for he grants sleep to those he loves. That's a tough verse, especially in a world that says work, work, work.
yep.
Do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I think there's some initial thoughts there. I mean, to your comment there, I think in today it's all about, go get it, right? Go after, your dreams. And I think those are all great things and let's pursue and I think we're called to work too. We can get into that maybe later. Obviously when God created the Garden of Eden, there was work to be done, with Adam and Eve. So I think work's a good thing. I think the initial thought is, unless the Lord, I mean that repetitive in the first verse there, unless the Lord builds the house, unless the Lord watches over the city, is that reliance on the Lord, that trusting of God's plan, that trusting of what He has in store for you, I think is what initially hits me, you know, um, because no matter what, and for those who believe, is no matter what we do or how hard we work or how many hours you put in or what that ambition is, if it's not of the Lord, which it hits later on, is it's in vain. It's whether, and I think that's the heart check, right, for us. And I think it's a good thing. Again, I don't again, work I think it's a blessing of the Lord, but at the same time, I think we can take that, and much like a lot of things and that are good in this world, whether it's money, whether it's sex, there's a lot of things that we can distort and make a selfish control, right? And I think that work is in that same realm where it's what's the heart behind it? What's the ambition? Is it of the Lord? Is it truly doing what He has for us, what He's called us to, and the work that He has, or is it something in that else that we're striving for? Whether that's building a great life for ourselves, or there's a lot of good things out there that we can pursue, but is it truly of Him? That's my initial thought. Unless the Lord, like, there's a reliance, and then there's a heart check. what's the motivation behind the hard work or the long hours or um yeah, that's my initial thought when I see
Yeah.
that verse.
See, I'm big on the entrepreneurial journey. That's my other podcast. Shout out to the entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
Being on my own entrepreneurial journey for over 20 years. What I found, it's such a strikingly powerful verse. In vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat. Just that little verse right there, is very interesting. And I think about it in terms of the entrepreneur because that's the life I
Uh,
live. So
yeah.
that's my context that I bring to the table. But as an entrepreneur, how many entrepreneur leaders say, "Hey, the 5 a.m. club. Let's get up at 5 a.m. or let's get up at 4:30 a.m." One of my big questions is, what time do you go to bed at? You know, because
Yeah.
uh, because I'm an 8 to 10 hour a night sleep person. That's where I like to be. I'll even push it to 12. I'm just gonna throw that out there. But I like to get that 8 to 10 hours, and I'm telling you what, the truth of the matter is that I think so many times in entrepreneurship, it's get up early, and then, you're the last one at the office because you got to get one more report out, or you got to get one more deal across the line, or there's always one more thing. And so, you eat the clock up and it's 6:30, and then all of a sudden it's 7, and then it's 7:30 and 8. And by the time you look at it, you get home and now you have a late dinner, and then what do you got to do? You got to unwind a little bit. You got to have something to unwind. And then you get up and you do it again. But a lot of times business doesn't move forward. The SBA says 75% of businesses fail after 15 years. A major percentages of the businesses that are started in the first couple of years fail. There's many, many
Yeah.
things that point to this, but there's some truisms there where you're always working and toiling in vain.
Hmm.
And you see successful entrepreneurs in this world, they're kind of the ones that are highlighted, right? But there's many, many that fall by the wayside, that fall out of business, that quit, that don't make it. You see the successful ones. And the ones that quit, why do they quit? Because they're toiling in vain. And many times, I hear the key to success is perseverance. The key to success is don't quit. The key to success is don't give up. And on some level, I believe that's 100% true. But in my own mind, in my own heart, in my own journey, I've been wrestling with, am I toiling in vain? Am I toiling in vain? I'm up early, to bed late. It feels like that verse shares my life. And I think to myself, what's the purpose? What's the point? Because the truth is, nobody's going to remember the entrepreneurial journey. Nobody's going to remember TransBlue. Nobody's gonna remember any of the stupid little things. We are so insignificant in this world. There's a billion people, but yet each one of us thinks our life is so important. We're a speck of grain in a big tower of grain that's stacked up really high. You know what I mean?
Yeah. James
Like
says that
we're
we're a
really
mist, right?
nothing. It's just what we do is really just so unimportant. And we're so carried away with the things that we want to try to accomplish, and it really means nothing. Why toil in vain? So I think just a great show, a great concept for the show, a great thought for the show, and really thinking about that and thinking deep about that. Why stress about these things? Why worry about what's going to happen? Does God not provide? Hmm. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'll kick it back over to you for a minute. What's
No,
going
it's
on?
great.
What's gone over there in the islands of Maui?
No, I think you're spot on. I mean, obviously, just like you, I mean, being in franchising, being in around small business for majority of my career is, you see people that, I know right now. I mean, I think we brought it up a time. Simon Sinek is like a big, business speaker and author right now. And he talks about what is your why, right? And in business, we talk about that. What is your purpose? What is your why? Above running the business, whether you're in construction or you're in landscaping or whatever that service is, especially for the business owners and entrepreneurs. But what's the bigger purpose? And in coaching or in working with entrepreneurs, it's always like, hey, what's the goal, and that can be such a wide range. Working with franchisees over the years, when I'm talking to them and working with them on coming into the franchise, it was, hey, what's the goal? What are you looking for? And a lot of times, obviously, the financial portion was in there, a big focus. Like, I want this. Well, why do you want that? What's the reason beyond it? And there's a lot of reasons. Guys, well, hey, I want to build a home for my family. I want to take that vacation to Hawaii eventually, or I want to, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want the country club membership, to golf every week or whatever. There's tons of reasons for that. But it's that bigger purpose. And I think this verse hits it home. I think for those who believe and of the Lord, it's again, what is that bigger purpose that you're seeking? Because ultimately, it says it, unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain, right? It is in vain that you rise early, that you go to late to rest. It's eating that bread of anxious toil, and this is the ESV version. But it's what's great is you talk about rest, and it makes me think of in Matthew when Jesus is talking about come to me, right? Come to me, all those who are weary and heavy laden, right? And I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, and learn. I think it's and learn from me, for I'm gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. And there's that similarity of reliance, on God and not just yourself. And I think a lot of times, talking to whether it's entrepreneurs or just people in life, it's I gotta work a little bit harder. I gotta grind, right? Rise and grind. You hear that, all this, it's grind time, and all these things that and I think there's something to be said with perseverance and grit. I think we're called to build and says, obviously we're called to that. And you can see that in the Garden of Eden too, that we're meant to build, we're meant to watch and preserve and protect. Interestingly enough, if you go a little bit the few verses in the psalm, it's a very short psalm. The next verses 3 to 5, it talks about, behold, children are the heritage from the Lord, the fruit of the womb a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior are the children of one's youth. Blessed is the man who fills his quiver with them. He shall not be put to shame when he speaks with his enemies at the gate in the gate. And it's interesting, and there's some connection there, that in that psalm, that all of a sudden it goes to family, it goes to our home, right? And that work is good, but it's like that some of that bigger purpose. And I know you and I have talked about that too, like faith, family, right? And and how important that is, like how are we working at the house too, right? And what's that ministry look like, and entrepreneurs. And sometimes we get so focused on work and our profession and business, and I think this is a great heart check for those. And where we are is also just, what does that look like at the house? So sometimes we are rising early, we're staying up late to work. So much are we neglecting that focus at home, as a husband or as a father. I know for me, sometimes I got to check that, even if I am home in today's world. And just talking with some people lately about this is, are you fully present? with your family, or are you still thinking about work, or you checking that email on the phone when it comes in, or and I think it's that balance too. For me, it's at times where just because I'm at home, am I truly present with my wife and my kids? Um, and I think for me, that's also it hits home. Am I focusing on that and what the Lord has for me and that purpose as an employee, as a man, and as a husband and a father. So I think it's interesting that it talks about family and kids, after these first two verses.
Yeah, that's good. And I wonder if it was the more kids you have, the more people that are going to be out there plowing your field
It
for free.
could be. It could be. Ask Solomon. Hello.
Yeah, it's a touchy thing. I think that as I look at it, it's for me, what it comes down to is because I can feel like this a lot. It's real easy to feel like this, especially when things don't go right. When things don't go right in your business, in your life, whatever, you question everything. You know, like in my business, you know, probably had the worst operations team I've ever had with three or four people who aren't here anymore. Like the worst in 20 years. Like every one of them was so bad and did such damage to the business. Like I think about that. That's something that's really been on my mind lately. And, it's, is that my fault? Did I put those people there? Did I let those people not do what they were supposed to do? Did I cause those people to be where they were? Did I trust them too much? Did I? But you know what? The thing of the matter is, it doesn't matter. I can't change it. But I can toil in my mind about it all the time. I can get worked up about it. It can take me down some pretty dark paths. And what I have to think about is if the Lord doesn't build the house, you're building in vain. And so what I've really had to do is come back and say, God, I put this business in your hands. God, I put this employee in your hands. God, I put this hiring decision in your hands. God, I put this in your hands. And some people say, oh, you're not supposed to say that about a worker or an employee. Well, I don't know if that's true or not. Because at the end of the day, it's tough. And people's decisions impact many people's lives. And so what I've learned is that I might want someone to come work for me really, really bad. Because I think I'll take it back to entrepreneurship. We all want people who are going to help build the business so that we can get it to where we want it to go, and we can't do that alone. So we're always looking for like the best people. We're always trying to level to the best people. And so like we might find somebody with this incredible resume. We might find somebody that, just talks the language and understands the business, and like you think to yourself, gosh, this is one of those right people in the right seats. You've got the traction book behind you. This is one of those people that can, help take the business to the right level. But guess what? This is what I've really found. You got to commit those people to the Lord. And this is a true story. Back in, it must have been 2015 or 2016, there was a guy by the name of Abshner that I really wanted to hire this guy. I mean, he was so smart. He was so intelligent. Probably the smartest guy I had ever met in facilities, and just came from a headhunter. And I was like, this is the guy that's going to change the business. And at the time, I was going to pay him more than I had ever paid anybody. But I really wanted to take my business to the next level. I really wanted to execute these multi-million-dollar contracts we were bringing on. And I'll never forget it. I was in a gym in some city and I was running. I wasn't training for a marathon, but I was on the treadmill and I said, God, I give this person to you. I give this employment to you. Lord, if they're not right for this business, I want to close the door. Lord, just close it, shut it, slam it. No matter how bad I want this person to come work for me, I'm going to make the offer. I'm going to walk through the door because I don't know what else to do. But Lord, I put it in your hands. And the truth of the matter is that the headhunter talked to the headhunter on the phone, and they were like, "All right, he's all in. He's ready to go. Paperwork's ready. Blah 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 blah." And we had it set up with them. Okay, he's going to start on Tuesday the 5th, whatever it was, you know. And then Tuesday the 5th comes, and there's a no-show. Now this is set up through a headhunter. You know how on the point they
Yeah.
are.
Mhm.
So we reach out to the headhunter. Hey, what's happened? You know, can't get a hold of him. What's going on? Finally, they get a hold of him and says, hey, he took another job at CBRE. Now, people on my team were like, oh, man, that's such a bummer, blah, 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 blah. But me, no, because I had given it to the Lord.
Yeah.
And what I've found is that, you know, as you let team hire team, if they don't have the same values, if they don't have the same set of values that you carry with you, they might not be making decisions in that same way. And that's not bad either, but the Lord builds the house. The Lord brings the right people in. And if the Lord doesn't build the house, then we're building it in the wrong way. Like, we can look at this traction book behind you and you can say, right people, right seats, right people, right seats. And I believe there's some truth to that. But right people, right seats as directed by the Lord,
Amen.
in my mind. And it's about being able to turn those things over to the Lord, because it's really hard to run any kind of organization. It's really hard to run any kind of business. And that's just an example of giving it to the Lord. People say 5 a.m. club. Guess what? I don't like the 5 a.m. club. I don't like getting up before 6 at all. Like, I'm actually anti up before 6. I'm just gonna tell you,
Amen. Yeah. Yeah.
like I'm anti. I don't mind 6. I don't mind 6:15 or 6:30. 7 is better. But I don't mind 6. But what am I gonna do? I'm gonna start my day toiling. I'm gonna start my day in a myriad of emails that are just problems. Like, I haven't looked at my email today, and I don't know what's in there, but I'm guessing it's going to have 50 or 60 emails. Yesterday, Walmart decided to send out a blast of emails and sent me over 650 emails in a day.
Holy cow.
Yeah, that was fun to delete them all. Um, but no, but the truth is, like, what are you doing? You're running right into the problems. And so, like, my real thought is, okay, I got to get up. I got to have my mind right. I got to get into prayer. I got to get into the Word of God. I got to get into my devotions. I got to get my mind right before I start toiling for the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and I think that's something that, I mean, you shared with me over the years, and I love it because it's so easy to, and I think it's taking it straight from the verse of anxious toil. I mean, whenever you rise, right? Whether it's 4, 5, 6, it's really easy for us, and I think we're just trained ourselves to be so reliant on, our phones and technology just to be right. The good news is we're so accessible, so we can take care of some problems. We can be more responsive than ever, because of the availability and access to technology, to our phones, to, than before. I think the other side of that is, we can just dive right in. And I think, I love the fact that you say, hey, you talk about your morning routine, you talk about this all the time of, it reminds me of in Philippians, right? It's, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything through prayer and supplication. So even before the day, like, and in Proverbs 3, it's another awesome chapter is, you talk about whether it's hiring or your day or, it's giving that first to the Lord. It's giving the first fruits to the Lord and acknowledging Him, right? And I think in the Psalm 20, 127, I think the way I think about it is, unless the Lord, right? Unless the Lord built it, unless the Lord watches, is that acknowledgement of God. I think the first step is acknowledging Him and honoring Him, right? And trusting Him, embracing, His love. It's interesting. At the end of it, it talks about beloved, right? He loves you. So are we embracing that love that He wants to give us rest, right? As Jesus says in Matthew 11:2, is come to me, right? If you're heavy laden and you're burdened, and take my yoke upon you. So, a yoke is still, we're still plowing. That's the thing. We still need to build. We still need to do our part and watch. So there's an active role for us. I think the other side of that too is we just kind of sit back and do nothing and say, oh, well, it's the Lord will just do it. And no, I mean, there's a purpose for your life, and I would say, yeah, we're one of billions and billions and, trillions of people have lived in forever, but I also believe that there's an important role for those who believe in God's plan in a purpose for your life, right? And a purpose to make your impact. And, whether that's training up your kids, your next generation and, or even your business, because I've seen it in your business too, of just, I think there is an internal impact by the giving, by the other side of it through your nonprofit. And I think it's like that bigger purpose too, is unless the Lord builds it. So I think it's trusting the Lord while we're doing our part and acknowledging Him, hopefully committing it to the Lord, whether, it's that deal or that hire, is trusting the decisive effect of what He does with it, right? So it's working hard and committing it and then let the Lord work it out, for the eternal impact that He has in that plan. And it's just trusting that He's going to work, on your path and that promise that He has for your life and for you. So we do build, we do watch, we protect, we preserve, according to God's plan, according to His will, and His will be done, right? At the end of the day, but there is an active part to play within that. And I think, but getting back to you, it's that first acknowledgement, trusting Him with your day, trusting Him, with your life, and it's tough. I mean, there's some days definitely, I mean, yeah, it just, this last week has been tough at the house, and we've had, some things, with one of our kids, and there's some anxious toil there, and
Yeah.
they talk about work and it's like, man, like, you want to set them up for success and you want to protect them
Yeah.
and guide them. So, not to, I know we could go on that tangent, that's for another podcast, but it's, for that same way, acknowledging Lord, trusting Him and committing that life of our kids. And, there's just those challenges, but it's, trusting His plan, trusting that, we could do it, just do more and more and more. But if I'm just sitting there digging my holes, trying to get it in my selfish ambition and my selfish nature, it's all in vain and it's not going to go anywhere and it's not going to make a lasting impact and more importantly, the eternal impact that he has. So, yeah, it's a powerful chapter, powerful verses. And
It
it's
is.
good to check the heart, good to check your motivation and where you are.
It is a good deal. Listen, this has been a great show. And I think that just for the audience out there, think about how you're toiling. Think about how you're working. Think about the right people in the right seats. Think about how you commit everything to God. Are you committing it to God? Is everything being committed to God in every way? And I encourage you, take a step this week. And instead of starting your morning in email or working out, start it in the Word. Start it in prayer. And just check out the difference that it might bring. I'm your host, Dave Wescott. Follow me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM there if you'd like to connect. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Check out our YouTube channel. I'm running a marathon. Check it out. I'm having a lot of fun. We're back every other week, Sunday mornings, running the God is Dead podcast. Follow Todd Chapman on LinkedIn, Facebook, anywhere he's hanging out as well. It was a pleasure you having on the show. We'd love to see you next week. Drop your comments into the comment box. We'd love to chat. We'd love to get some dialogue going and seeing how you put these things forward in your life. Thank you so much, and we'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.